You gotta love it when SNK pulls these types of curveballs. I was totally gonna drop a video yesterday talking about an opportunity that I feel SNK had squandered in regards to City of the Wolves when I had caught wind that the official Fatal Fury City of the Wolves Instagram account had announced a watch party for WrestleMania 41, which is going on right now, and it will be taking place in the official Fatal Fury Discord. As a fan of wrestling and fighting games, this really did pique my curiosity because, well, why exactly is there going to be a watch party specifically for WrestleMania? I mean, I do get it. SNK has to know that many of their fans are more than likely wrestling fans too. And not to mention, WrestleMania is one of the most viewed events out there. You have a combination of hardcore fans, casual fans, and people that have never even thought about pro wrestling probably tuning in and watching WrestleMania. Once I got settled in, ready to watch night one of WrestleMania, I could not believe what I was seeing as the show opened up, and I also couldn't believe that I didn't see it coming. In case you somehow did not catch the news, WrestleMania 41 kicked off with the appearance of one Salvatore Ganacci. You know, the DJ dude who is a guest character in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves? Yeah, him. SNK was hosting this watch party because there was going to be quite a lot of promotion for Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Ads for the game would play during commercial breaks, the rev meter was utilized by the production team to measure crowd hype, and of course, we had the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves logo and the SNK logo right smack there in the center of the ring. Perhaps I spoke a little bit too soon when I said that SNK didn't quite stick the landing with the cross-promotion in regards to the inclusion of Salvatore Ganacci as a playable character in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. But if he is going to take up some type of ambassador role like this right here, I might have to eat my words there because, again, consider the people that I told you that may be watching WrestleMania. Hardcore wrestling fans, casual wrestling fans, people that probably don't even think about pro wrestling except for WrestleMania. That's not a bad crowd to try to get people invested in your product. It's a pretty good time to do it, if you ask me. On something of a side note, I'm actually kind of liking the fact that new fighting games are actually getting press like this, especially in wrestling, because as I'm sure some of you remember, Thea Trinidad, who you may know as Zelina Vega for wrestling fans, actually helped promote Street Fighter 6 at the Royal Rumble a couple years ago. Fatal Fury even got some promotion from New Japan Pro Wrestling, having Hiroshi Tanahashi cosplaying Terry. In case you don't know, Hiroshi Tanahashi is one of the biggest stars in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling and is sometimes attributed to being one of the causes in helping New Japan Pro Wrestling rebound from one of its darker ages. So yeah, color me a bit surprised that Fatal Fury is getting a little bit of a boost from pro wrestling of all places. Now some people are gonna sit there and they're probably gonna cite stuff with the Saudi Foundation as they own SNK and WWE has been doing business with them, which I can't deny nor ignore because it's an easily accessible fact. It's a fact that some people have also pointed out in regards to a statement that their owners were not going to have that much of an influence on the creative direction of the games, which a lot of people are calling into question given the inclusion of the two guest characters that caused all that controversy. However, I'm gonna pump the brakes on that because that is not what I'm here to talk about. You've probably seen the title and you're probably wondering where I'm going with this. A few of you may actually know exactly where I'm going with this because I have posted about this before. Specifically here, where I recounted I was talking with a friend who understood and pretty much realized that I was not really a fan of Cristiano Ronaldo being a playable character in this game. My friend asked me if I had any real life people that I would have loved to see in this game instead of him, and I point to this image here. This is Stephanie Vaquer, who currently wrestles for WWE under its developmental brand known as NXT. Developmental, for those who don't know, are basically where upcoming wrestlers are given the opportunity to hone their craft, to put it simply. If you're lucky and if everything works out for you, you go through, or I guess graduate through developmental, and they'll put you on the main roster on one of the bigger shows. Like a good chunk of wrestlers that go through the developmental NXT, they've had experience elsewhere. One could even argue that Stephanie Vaquer is pretty much a sensation right now. Without stumbling too much into like the wrestling aspect of things, the opportunity I feel SNK missed out on, given how solid this particular cross promotion was with the WWE and even New Japan, they could have included wrestlers as guest characters instead of Cristiano Ronaldo and Salvatore Ganacci. Now, before I go on with this, I will admit that there is some bias here on my part, and not just because I'm a wrestling fan. In terms of gameplay, the thing that I don't like about Cristiano Ronaldo personally is that I have just not been a fan of this type of character archetype, the archetype being non-combat sports characters in fighting games. That's not me saying that they need to be deleted, it's just I am not a fan. There is a difference. Just because I don't like them doesn't mean that they don't have fans or they don't deserve to be in a game. I want to emphasize that. And you know, just to cover all fronts when it comes to this, Salvatore Ganacci, I said it before, his trailer and the stuff that he does I find a lot more entertaining and engaging compared to Ronaldo. And while I don't think it's exactly a big majority, I've seen people, be it big creators or commoners, that are actually starting to warm up to him, so that's nice that he's kinda sorta getting over. But rolling all the way back to my point here is that I think they should have included wrestlers as guest characters instead of these two. And I think that Stephanie Vaquer would have been a strong pick for this idea. Right off the bat, I think she has an awesomely appealing look, and not just in the way that most people are thinking. She really makes the whole Dark Angel aesthetic really pop, and it's also helped by the fact that she is an amazing wrestler. I'd love to include some clips, but I don't feel like wrestling with copyright and content IDing right now. But in me praising her ability, it's like, obviously I'm pretty sure SNK or anybody could really take like her arsenal in wrestling and apply it to a really cool, enjoyable fighting game character. When I first saw Stephanie Vaquer, maybe it's because of my obsession with these particular mediums, but I'm like, if somebody needed to have a really cool inspiration for a fighting game character, video game character, or a comic book character, here you go. Just saying. Going back to her aesthetic and connecting that with Fatal Fury, hardcore fans will know that Fatal Fury was one of the earliest fighting games to really put an emphasis on the story. Whether it be scenes and things that you immediately notice, or if it might be one of those background cameos or Easter eggs that you may find. All of these elements would tell you more about Fatal Fury's settings, characters, thus providing an immensely rich experience with diving into the Fatal Fury story. I would argue that there is an element of Stephanie Vaquer's aesthetic that exemplifies that very same thing. From some of the images that I've shown, you probably noticed that she has these markings on one of her eyes. While it does look cool in and of itself and it definitely blends in with her overall dark and kind of gothic aesthetic, there's actually a little bit more to that. In an interview that came courtesy of WWE Español, Stephanie explains this makeup by saying, quote, "In my second match, I had a fracture on my face, so my makeup fits that. Many people don't know, but the makeup is in honor of a Japanese belief called kintsugi. When, for example, a plate is broken, they fix it with silver or gold and it becomes more valuable because it was broken, and now it's whole again." I don't know about anybody else, but in addition to that being cool and badass in my opinion, I always admire design elements that teach me about something that I have never known about before, especially if it can send me down a crazy rabbit hole. But yeah, just my opinion, I feel like Stephanie Vaquer would have been a much better and exciting real-life guest character for Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. There are no other characters in the series that I can think of that actually look like her, they wouldn't fight like her. She would bring something unique to the table. Now, some may argue that Cristiano Ronaldo and Salvatore Ganacci would also bring something unique to the table, which you can definitely make that argument. Again, your mileage may vary, but I just feel like, not overwhelmingly, but I feel like it would have been less sting and less heat on SNK if they would have included someone like her. Now, on top of that, it doesn't even have to be Stephanie Vaquer. She would have been like just my personal pick. I'm pretty sure a couple of y'all were watching and probably saying or thinking stuff like, "I don't know who this woman is, and Cristiano Ronaldo is a lot more recognizable and more popular than she is," which I'm not gonna get into the whole matter of popularity contests, but I will say this though. Yeah, I get why there's so much emphasis on popularity. You would want somebody recognizable as a guest character in a game because, of course, one of, and I emphasize one of, the purposes of a guest character is to cross-promote. I get that. So that's an easy sell for like one of the most popular athletes in the world, right? But with that being said, thanks to like a lot of the research I did for videos like the fighting game guest character iceberg video, which, just a healthy reminder, there is going to be a version 2 of that coming out, stay tuned. There were some guest characters that were included in games that were not necessarily popular, but of course they were still there for cross promotion. The first one that comes to my mind is like in a niche game like Sam Show, Baiken, of course, quite recognizable to the fighting game base. On the other end, you had a character like Gongsun Li, who was more regional considering Honor of Kings was a China exclusive game. Despite the fact that I would probably never play Honor of Kings because it's not really a genre that I'm into, I cannot deny that Gongsun Li was very cool and actually turned out to be one of my favorite characters to be in Sam Show. In addition to that, again, while I'll probably never play Honor of Kings, I actually appreciate a lot of the character designs and find them really cool. I would even argue that you could apply this to a character like Norimaru in the MVC series. Now, of course, he was limited to a particular type of port, which again was a regional thing, but now thanks to the collection, he's actually officially available outside of Japan for the very first time. But I'm sure some people overseas did get a chance to experience Norimaru and probably wondered where he came from and probably never heard of him, but they still found the character cool or funny or what say you. This is all to say that guest characters are also there to help introduce people to a medium that they may not be familiar with. I don't have the hard statistics on how many fighting game fans are also wrestling fans, but I still stand by the fact that I think Stephanie Vaquer would have some type of appeal to those that are uninitiated into the realm of wrestling. Now, admittedly, this is kind of me fanboying and I guess fantasy booking, whatever you want to call it, but once again, it doesn't have to be Stephanie Vaquer. Maybe SNK would want to go the safe route. Like the same stuff that I said about Stephanie Vaquer could even apply to someone like Asuka, Kairi Sane, and the current women's world champion, Io Sky. I hope I didn't jinx her with that since she's defending the title tonight. Or perhaps you want to go even safer. Rhea Ripley is a no-brainer and is pretty much one of the most popular wrestlers out right now. And I mean, there's definitely nobody in the Fatal Fury universe that looks like Rhea does. I'd argue the same could be said for someone like Bianca Belair. And I mean, whipping the hair, you telling me that's not an easy fighting game move? Come on now. But Chris, does it need to be a woman's wrestler? I mean, I would prefer it, but like, you wanted 2 other real life wrestlers in here? Why not the Lucha Bros? Cosmetically, Penta and Phoenix just scream cool. And of course, like I mentioned with Stephanie Vaquer, it's not just in the looks. Both these guys are some of the most exciting wrestlers out there today. Granted, you could maybe argue that we have somebody already representing Lucha Libre in Fatal Fury with Griffin Mask, but I guarantee you that what you've seen T-Zoc do doesn't really have that much overlap with the Lucha Bros. I promise you. But yeah, I feel like if they would have just gone with some wrestlers for real life guest characters in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, it might have stung a little bit less. I'm not saying completely, and I'm not even saying by a lot. It would have stung a little bit less, or decently less. Because as I'm sure you know, you've been seeing that sentiment around ever since those 2 characters were revealed as part of the main roster. People want Fatal Fury characters in the Fatal Fury game. Now, the people that have been paying attention to what I've been saying and those that have been following me closely when it comes to covering this game, they might bring up something like, oh, well, you said we didn't need Salvatore Ganache because we had Duck King. Why are you proposing women's wrestlers when we have Sagumi Sendo? Didn't SNK mention that we're gonna have everybody in Fatal Fury? That's a whole nother video.